J-Dub, how are you?
I'm very good, Dan. Thanks for waking me up.
Your reaction to this story with Peyton Manning is what?
Just skepticism. You know, I think the author of the New York Daily News story, credibility is way in question. I think the timing of the story, everyone acting like, how come this is being ignored? The story has never been ignored. I think the story, the way it was written in the New York Daily News, is just clear race baiting. It's clearly done, and Cam Newton is being criticized. So, hey, let's find the white quarterback that was in that game, and let's criticize him in the most vicious way possible and the most sensational way possible. Listen, I've never been a Peyton Manning fan, per se. You know, I think I've been known as a critic of Peyton Manning. Felt that he was a little bit overhyped, the whole conversation about him being the greatest quarterback of all time. But I think re-airing this story in the salacious, one-sided way that it's being re-aired is completely unfair to Peyton Manning.
Is this about Peyton Manning?
Not at all, in my opinion. I think it's about a race war that's being waged over social media, started by this Black Lives Matter movement over social media. And there's this tit-for-tat game that's going on of people over social media trying to prove that one race is worse than the other. And everything is, devolving into some racial discussion. If you criticize Cam Newton for celebrating in the end zone or for, ducking out on a press conference or for handling that Super Bowl loss poorly, somehow you're racist or you're a sellout. And, hey, let's go look 20 years ago, Peyton Manning was involved in the controversy. And I'm not trying to minimize the controversy, but it is being retold in a really unfair way. Just think about this, Dan. Just facts that are being accepted as facts. That somehow now today it's known that Peyton Manning pulled his pants down and sat on this woman's face with his testicles and butt. And we're supposed to just accept that at face value that that's what happened. The reason why I'm a bit skeptical is there were witnesses there. There was another teammate who was a witness there. In my football playing days, and it was pretty sexist back then, but if a football player, no matter how prominent they were, if he sat on a female trainer's face with his butt and balls, someone would knock that guy out. Whoever witnessed that would jump on that guy and knock him out. And that was even back in the 80s when it was very sexist. That would have been the reaction. But for some reason, that wasn't the reaction here. People were allegedly laughing, and people were allegedly doing nothing. She, according to the way the story is being presented now, after allegedly having her face set on in that manner, called a sexual assault crisis number within hours. Part of me believes if that's the case, if that's what really happened, that crisis group would have called the police, and there would be a police report and an investigation of whether a sexual assault happened. Maybe it was all covered up because of Peyton Manning. And if so, there's a larger story to be about police misconduct and the misconduct of this crisis center. But for me, I need to hear both sides of the story, not what's in a lawsuit presented by her lawyers, targeted to get as much money as possible from the University of Tennessee and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear Peyton's side of the story anytime soon.
No, I wouldn't think we're going to hear that side, but I just think there's plenty of reason for everybody to pump the brakes and ask some, journalistically sound questions. The guy that wrote this story for the New York Daily News, he's not a journalist. He's a race hustler from Twitter, from the Black Lives Matter movement, who stirs racial controversy to elevate himself. Listen, the guy's been busted. First of all, he's white and presenting himself as black. He said that he was, as a child in high school, he was allegedly attacked by a group of white people because he was black. Well, he wasn't black, and there are people saying that wasn't why he was attacked, and there's no proof of it. He says that it was the first hate crime in Kentucky or whatever. I looked into this all at the time because I interviewed this guy for a job at the Undefeated months ago. And when after interviewing him, I was like, holy cow, there's so much suspicious, skeptical stuff to this guy that we walked away from him and looked into the stories that he told us, and we couldn't find proof of them. So I just think we need to be careful. And again, this is not trying to choose a side here. Clearly, Peyton Manning did something inappropriate back then. How inappropriate, I don't know. And so based on his story and retelling of it by others, the Daily Beast story that was written 2 weeks ago or before the Super Bowl or whatever, the headline was something about Peyton Manning is worse of a prick than Cam Newton. If we're taking this alleged sexual assault seriously, why is it being framed as a Peyton Manning versus Cam Newton thing?
I know.
So what's this really about?
How should Manning deal with this?
I'm not sure. It's gotten to a point, and the way the media environment is now, that he may have to take it more seriously and may have to defend himself at some point, because clearly enough is being stirred up that he's going to get asked about it. But I don't know. I don't know the nature of the non-disclosure agreements. I don't know who's feeding this information to Sean King and other people in the media to stir this up now.
He tried to
move on. It's going to take someone smarter than me.
The HGH, though, tried to dismiss that and move on from that. But this is something that was settled out of court. If he holds his retirement press conference, Jason, somebody's going to ask him about this.
Oh, 100%. And I'll just say this. As far as the HGA story goes, I thought there was legitimacy to that and something Peyton needed to answer better than what he did. This story right here, again, I'm just not sure. But, yes, they have turned or some events have turned the end of Peyton Manning's career into something really, really sensational and ugly for him. And I'm just sitting here watching, we celebrate Kobe Bryant, the end of his NBA career. And no one's talking about Colorado.
I just brought it up 15 minutes ago that you have, Kobe, that, he moved on from it. We moved on from it, and let's give him a hero's tribute out the door. And meanwhile, Peyton's trying to retire, and people aren't going to let him. He's not going to go quietly into the night.
Well, I think at some point soon, Jameis Winston's case at Florida is going to be revisited by the media and framed in the most sensational way possible. And again, that's not me choosing sides with Jameis Winston. I don't know what happened there. But if we're going to get in this game of reliving past instances and framing them in the most negative, sensational way possible, Peyton Manning's not the only guy that's going to have to answer for this. And look, there may be people listening saying, well, that's good. We should hang this over people's heads for the rest of their lives and relive the stories anytime we want. But again, for those that are trying to conduct this racial tit-for-tat war, when the scoreboard gets counted up, it's going to be real hard to see who the winners are. People that actually want to see the best in each other and actually want to bring the country together, we're going to be the losers. And the people that are using this race game to build their own careers, they'll be the winners.
You know how this works, though. Everybody sees a story and says, how do I make it work for my agenda? And the Tom Brady apologists are going to be jumping in to say, hey, go after Peyton the way you did Tom. Hey, you're going to be critical of Cam being a bad guy. Go after Peyton. Jameis Winston, got away with this. Go after Peyton. It just feels like everybody has their agenda, and Peyton right now is the piñata.
I hate to sound this old, but I can do it because you're a little older than me. Man, this journalism thing has really changed in our career, Dan. I don't remember this being what journalism was 15 years ago or even 10 years ago, this racial gotcha game. I don't remember sports journalism being about that, but maybe it always was and we just ignored it, or maybe there actually used to be standards. Long before Gawker and Deadspin got involved and turned this whole thing negative, there used to actually be journalistic standards, and you tried to be fair to people so that you didn't do what we've seen. Again, I watched this and I go, did anyone watch Making a Murderer and get the gist of that, the point of this documentary that everyone's raving about and they love? Those of us in the media, we can't be judge and jury of things, and we can't just take, here's some court documents by a lawyer, and let's reframe it and reshape and let's prosecute this person in a newspaper or online as if we know everything, because we just don't.
Well, the story could be true. It's the coverage of it that I have a problem with.
Well, again, the story could be true, but it could also be exaggerated. Again,
True.
There's part of me that says it's hard for me to believe that a football player in 1996 could sit on a female's face in front of a bunch of other guys without getting his ass whooped. And I'm just telling you, and again, I played when it was far more, 10 years before Manning, or 8 years before, and it was more sexist then. Someone would have got their ass whooped if they had done that to a female trainer. No one would be writing a letter a year or 2 or 3 years later saying, Peyton, you need to fess up to what you did. Someone, hey, Peyton, I'm sorry for knocking you out for doing that to that woman, would have been the letter.
Go back to bed. Thank you for joining us. Always appreciate the opinions, Jason.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, buddy. Jason Whitlock, Fox Sports and blogger at J School.